welcome to the Energetics of Every Day. My name is Heather, and this week we're going to be talking about the power of positive thinking and really with a focus on gratitude. And I know that gratitude is talked about a lot and it's mentioned a lot, but we're going to hone in and get specific with our gratitude today. We're going to really focus on specific things to help us change the way that we think and to bring more joy and excitement into our lives. So I'm really excited to dive into that today. It's one of my favorite topics. But before we do that, we're going to recap what we talked about last week. So last week we really dove into how to ground or how to calm our nervous system. So our nervous system, it is what is responsible for most of the functions, especially like the more subconscious functions in our body, our hormone production, our cell growth and turnover, our breath, unless we are consciously changing our breath, our heart rate, our blood pressure, so many different things. And what we often don't get taught is that we have a lot of say in how our nervous system works and how our nervous system functions. So that's really what we dove into last week. And it's important to have kind of a base understanding of this before we get into today's topic, because most people are living in fight or flight 90% of the time, which is the sympathetic zone of the nervous system being activated. What we're wanting to do with our nervous system is activate more of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. So since most people are living in fight or flight, it's really hard to move from fight or flight to be thinking positively. That would be like saying, imagine that you're running for your life from a lion and look at the grass and think about how pretty it is. That just doesn't really add up, doesn't really make sense. While most of us are not running from our life from a lion, at least I hope not, what we are doing is it feels like that is what we are doing. Our body, our hormones, all of these things that our nervous system controls, our cell turnover, our heart rate, our mental state, the chemicals being produced in our mind, all of these functions in our body are acting and moving through the world as if that's what we're doing. So when someone says, oh, be grateful, when your entire body feels like it is running from a lion, that's probably really annoying to hear. I mean, like, no one wants to be like, oh, be grateful when you're like in this state. So the importance of what we talked about last week in grounding and calming the nervous system is to bring us into a more neutral state. It's to exit that fight or flight mode and get into a more rest and digest state, a more relaxed state. And now from here, we can add in gratitude. We can add in positive thinking. Again, we can't really add in positive thinking from a negative state. We have to go more neutral, and then from there we can move to being more positive and grateful in our life. Aside from just this benefit, learning to work with our nervous system offers so many other benefits. So as you can imagine, it is not good for our body. It is not healthy for our body to be in fight or flight all of the time, to constantly be pumping those stress hormones, to constantly be under this stress and this chaos. So being able to work with it and bring it into a more neutral state is so beneficial for just our overall happiness, health, wellness. It can prevent diseases, help us to be more connected in our relationships, help us improve our performance in our jobs. It's just really beneficial overall. So being able to activate the parasympathetic nervous system more, wow, you will see so many changes in your life, I promise. And really, truly do not take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Try some of these activities for yourself and you will see the differences. Okay, so how do we access this more rest and digest state? And what does that look like? What does that feel like? So in fight or flight, our nervous system is kind of all over the place. We're maybe have a lot of like energy, a lot of thoughts, it's a lot of chaos. You can think of kind of like a raging sea. There's a lot of waves going on typically. Or it's like pure exhaustion and burnout. So it's kind of one of those two extremes. The rest and digest is more of a neutral state. And now before I go any further, I don't want to demonize fight or flight. Fight or flight is very, very useful. It is very useful. We wouldn't be here without it, either evolutionarily or just in our own life. We would not be able to function without that side of our nervous system. We wouldn't have the energy to move throughout our day and get out of bed and to have drive and ambition. There wouldn't be any of that without that side of the nervous system. So it is a really beautiful thing. It's just we need to learn how to use it and access different parts of our nervous system at different times. And that is kind of why we're here. Okay. So then how do we access more of these rest and digest states? So I'm kind of just going to give a little bit of a quick fire list. Feel free to explore some of these things for yourself. Try different things because different things work well for different people. Different people have different learning styles, different ways of understanding things, different ways of feeling things, different ways of relaxing, which is why there is a longer list we'll be going over today. And then my other tip is do a lot of these things for short periods of time, multiple times throughout your day, rather than one long sitting. So rather than taking deep breaths for 10 minutes throughout your day, or 10 minutes one time per day, just constantly come back to your breath throughout your day, maybe 4 or 5 times, and take 3 or 4 deep breaths. That is going to be much more helpful in changing your neural pathways, which ultimately changes and transforms your nervous system. So again, doing things multiple times in short spurts rather than throughout your day. A couple of helpful tools is to pair it with a habit that you already do, like every time you drink water, or every time before you eat, you're going to take some deep breaths, or every time you wash your hands. Every time you do something, pair it with one of these activities. Just kind of a helpful tip for squeezing those into your life. Okay, so here's the list. We just talked about breathing, taking deep, slow breaths. Next, tap. There's different places in our body we can tap that communicate to our nervous system. They're acupressure locations communicating to our nervous system that we are safe. One place is just the chest bone, the center of our chest. Next is our wrists on the outside or the inside of our wrist, just tapping, again doing so for short bursts. And next is to move your body. So whether it's walking, working out, running, yoga, stretching, visualize yourself grounding in and connecting with the earth, eating more mindfully, walking in the grass, gardening, getting creative or making art, taking a hot shower or a bath, and finally tuning into your senses. So throughout your day, that might look like noticing what you smell, noticing what you hear, noticing sensations on what you are touching, the feel of your clothes on your skin, the breeze, things like this. Okay. So, once we're able to ground our nervous system and get into a more neutral zone, into a more calm zone, we can add in some positive thinking and some gratitude into our life. So why don't we just take a few deep breaths together actually and kind of move our needle a little bit more into the restful state. So go ahead and either relax your eyes or close them all together. Just take a deep inhale in through your nose, fill up your belly, and exhale slow. We'll inhale in through your nose, exhale slow. Hopefully you can get a little bit of a felt sense of what that experience is like to maybe go from a little bit more movement and agitation in your energy to being a little bit more grounded and a little bit more in the moment. Okay, so when we think about positive thinking, there's kind of two factors, two parts that we can look at. So the first part is having positive expectation for things. So this is essentially the opposite of worrying. So instead of worrying about things turning out poorly, we are expecting that things are going to work out for us, and we are trusting in things working out, whether we trust in a higher power or we are just trusting in ourselves to figure it out. Either works, whatever resonates for you, but we have trust that things are going to work out and that things will have a positive outcome. Now, if you are a chronic worrier, I feel you, me too. What we can do is we can logically think of our worries and be proactive about them logically from a logical point, but then emotionally let go of the thoughts and the energy of worry itself. So what that might look like, let's say you are worried about a certain health outcome. So a lot of your energy is going into worrying about that health outcome. Instead of doing that, take the time to research it, take the time to get practical about it, take the time to be proactive, and what steps can you take to navigate it? Maybe it's spending more time relaxing, maybe it's eating healthily, maybe it's working out. What are some practical steps that you can take rather than worrying? So taking the practical steps and then also having the faith and the trust that things will work out and that things are always working out for you. Having that be a core belief of yours, that things are always working out for you. And when we have this understanding and this belief of the world, that tends to be what happens. Things will work out for us because we have that belief. So we're moving, we're acting, we're speaking. Our nervous system is functioning with the belief that things are always working out for us. What does that mean? Our nervous system is responsible for, again, like our cell turnover, our brain activity, our heartbeat, our heart rate, our blood pressure, so many things our subconscious mind is responsible for. So when we have the belief and we're telling our subconscious mind that everything works out, our entire being is then going to move throughout our lives as if everything works out for us. And that gives us a lot of power. The next thing we're going to be talking about is gratitude. So this is kind of the second part of positive thinking. So one, positive expectation, expecting things to work well for us. And two is gratitude. So being grateful for what we have in the moment, appreciating what we have. So an example of this, and kind of maybe a different way of approaching gratitude than you maybe have in the past, is really appreciating the steps that something took to be created. So I am personally a coffee drinker. I love my morning coffee. So when drinking that coffee, thinking about all of the history, all of the stories, all of the work and the effort that went into creating just this cup. So if we're going all the way back, someone had to learn how to grow coffee. Someone had to learn how to farm it, how to grow it. The coffee is growing in the earth and it's just being watered from water falling down from the sky. I mean, that's casual, right? People are currently growing this coffee for me. They are growing it. There is somebody who owns the company that created this coffee that I am drinking, and there are people marketing it, communicating it with other people, selling it to other distributors so that eventually I can get my hands on it and have this coffee. Not to mention that this coffee needed to be shipped, and all of the work and the engineering and the time that it took to go into creating the boat for it to be shipped over to my table, into my breakfast and my morning. So it is really beautiful to break down different things in your life to such an extreme level of all of the hands that have touched this, which have likely been hands for thousands of years. Because every invention, everything that we have in our life has been precursed by knowledge and understanding and engineering that came before it. So everything that we have has such a story and such a life. And we can find gratitude and awe in these different facets. It's a really incredible thing to experience, especially in our world today, where we are so disconnected from the process. What we do is we order something online and it comes to our house 2 days later, and we don't really think about it other than that. But all of the hands that have touched that process to make it feasible. Who is designing the cars? Who's manufacturing all of these car parts that are exactly fitted in the exact right way to be able to make a machine move in a way to get you your package delivered? There is such a complex system in everything in our lives these days. So being able to find gratitude in that and being able to appreciate that is, I think, a really beautiful and kind of fun, explorative way to access gratitude. I know that this can also be a really fun activity specifically with eating. It could be like a cool way to bring that into your life is maybe one meal per day. You look at everything you're eating and you think about all the hands that went into that. You think about who grew it, who manufactured it, who distributed it, and every facet of your meal, which there's probably a lot of different ingredients and different things in there that are coming from places that are possibly all over the world, and companies that are designed to give you this food and create this food for you. So there's so much in this world that is working for you right now. And taking the time to think about that is gonna give you so much joy and appreciation, and just change the way that you see the world. You'll see the world through these bright new eyes when you begin to look at things in this way and begin to look at all of the things that are working rather than all the things that aren't working. So on a more global perspective, and when we're looking at combining both positive expectations, so part one, with gratitude, which is part two, when we're looking at a more global sense, there might be a lot of struggle and a lot of hardship in the world, and there is. So what we want to do is we want to practically, logically, how can we best solve some of these problems? As we do that, we also want to trust that it will work out and have faith that it will work out. Move as if it will work out. And therefore, we are providing the energy, we are providing the solution, we are providing, figuring it out in a way that works best for everyone, while also being grateful for all of the things that are working. There's so many more things in our life that are working for us and against us, even on a collective level. And I know right now there's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in the news and the media, making it feel a little bit overwhelming. But when we really break it down, there are so many more things going well than going wrong. Just the fact that the Earth is spinning in its orbit, like in perfect proximity from the sun, and it rains, and the weather exists, and gravity's a thing. I mean, that's all pretty awesome. So being able to appreciate all these things that are working for us to be able to live our lives. When we move from this space, yes, so many things change in our life and our energy. We find so much more happiness, joy. When we have this, our health is better, our relationships are better, our work life is better. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into a little bit of an exercise. So what I want you to do is go ahead and just look around your room, wherever you are right now, and just find one thing that you are grateful for. It could be a pet, a glass of water, could be the screen that you're watching this on. It could be a blanket, anything. Just find one thing that you are grateful for. Once you have selected this one thing, I want you to go ahead and do what we were just doing. Really break down where this thing came from. All of the hands that went into it, that made it possible. All of the minds, all of the people, the coincidence that made this possible for you to have in your room right now. Continue thinking of more things. I promise you, no matter what it is, there's a really long list of what went into it to make that possible for you. Okay, so go ahead and take a deep breath and we'll kind of come back. So I hope that this activity gave you a moment to connect with whatever it is that you're grateful for. That is something that I think most humans right now are craving. We live in a very disconnected society, in a disconnected world. We're craving connection with humans, but also connection with the things in our life. Connection with the process of things. That is one way to deeply connect with even the objects in your life. I know that might sound like a strange concept to connect with the objects in your life. Yes, I get that. But doing so helps you to move through your life with this energy of connection, of appreciation, of this is sustainability, because we are appreciating the things in our life rather than just discarding them, rather than just kind of throwing them in the corner and looking at them as trash. We are appreciating the story that they have lived, the story that they tell, and how we can connect with them. So, thank you for doing this practice with me, and give yourself a little bit of a thank you as well. By doing this, we are becoming so much healthier, so much happier. If you'd like, go ahead and make a commitment to yourself to appreciate something in your life at least once per day for the next week. To really look at a different thing in your life every day and think about the story that it has lived. Everything that has gone into this, since even the beginning of time. We can go all the way back. How has time unfolded in a way that makes what you have in your life possible? Okay. Again, thank you so much for joining me. And if you are watching on Facebook Live, we will have one more class next week that will be up on Facebook Live. Other than that, we will just be on the virtual Y, and we'll continue these conversations about the energetics of every day over there. So I hope to see you. Thank you again. Bye.
I'm Sarah, and this is Cardio Dance. Are you guys ready to work out? Let's do it.
I woke up feeling like this gon' be my day. I got that poppin' fire every step I take. Living that wild life.
To the bag. Go. That's where we want to go.
Last 10 seconds. I'm right here with you. Let's do it. Welcome to the Y. My name is Erin. I'm Jennifer. My name is Linda.
My name is Tommy, and today we're going to do a quick step routine.
We feeling like we can conquer the world today?
I wish you all could smell it. It smells so good.
Time. We get stronger in my world. We're going to do it again.